Hello everybody, this is Inceptor 57 here. It's been a while, hasn't it? My last update was on October, now it's of November. I've been busy. I'm sure you guys might have been busy too. But I noticed that a whole bunch of Japanese tanks are about have been announced for the Japanese Ground Forces Tree Line in War Thunder. And I'm sure there's more to come, but I think now is a pretty good time to take a look at what Gaijin has to offer for us. So yeah, let's get on with the show. We got 7 tanks that's been announced since the October announcement. We got the Type 89 Aigo Ko, Type 97 Chiha, Type 2 Kami, Type 1 Chihi, Type 2 Hoai, Type 3 Chinu, and the STA-1. So these 7 tanks are about to have been officially announced for the Japanese Ground Forces Tree Line. But what do they mean? Like, what are these tanks? Well, I hopefully this video can give you a brief description of what they are, and I also want to give my predictions on like how do they fit in the War Thunder battlefield? What battle rating? What rank? You get the gist. So yeah, let's get on with the show. We'll start off with the what I think is going to be the lowest ranking of the bunch, the Type 89 IGO. And it even explicitly said so in the news description. The Type 89 IGO will be the first vehicle in the Japanese medium tank line. So that means no matter how you start it, you're going to start with a Type 89 IGO. Unless you absolutely boycott it, but I highly doubt it because you're going to need those tanks. The Type 89 is Japan's first mass-produced domestic tank design, and it was designed in 1928. So this led to deficiencies in its armor and armament. But then again, when it was designed, it wasn't intended to fight other tanks. Surely wasn't intended to fight Shermans. It was an infantry support vehicle. So it was only meant to go against machine guns, rifle rounds. So therefore, it only has 17 millimeters of frontal armor. Sad, huh? Well, the gun is a 57 millimeter cannon, but this is not the Soviet 57 or the British 6-pounder 57. This is a howitzer 57, and it's pretty much similar to the 75 millimeter on the early Panzer IV. Slow velocity, but with a high explosive charge. Unfortunately, it also says in the news description that while it lacks penetration, but it compensates this by saying while lacking penetration, it does present one of the best post-penetration effect for its rank. So that's something to look forward to at least, right? So yeah, with its thin armor, it's low. It's a rather subpar armament, and I'm guessing the Type 89 Aigo was also meant to move at the infantry speed, so it's not fast. So it's pretty much so I'm imagining it's kind of like the T-26 in the Soviets. So I'm going to have to give this like if I was to put this on tree, I'd probably put in the reserve tanks, especially since they say it's going to be the first, meaning it's going to have a battle rating 1.0. If it's not a reserve tank, then it's just going to be an unlockable rank 1. I can't really give it any much further than that. It's still going to be a battle rating 1.0 either way. But after that, the Type 89, let's go on to the next one, the Type 97 Chiha. Now, I mentioned a good portion of the Type 97 Chiha during the October announcement of the Japanese Ground Forces Tree Line, so you can go over that to that video for the history. I'll post a link right here. But the news did give me some insight on what can we expect from the Type 97 Chiha. So this image right here is the initial production variant. This is what they started out with the Type 97. It's got the old 57 millimeter cannon, just like the Type 89, because as I said, the Japanese did not focus on anti-tank at the moment. They were focusing on infantry support. They were only fighting the Chinese at this point, so the Chinese unfortunately did not have any adequate armor or anti-armor weapons. It has roughly 25 millimeter of armor on the front, which is better than the Type 89 IGO, but not that much. There's a statement here from Gaijin that says one of the first tanks Japanese armor commanders will be acquainted with, meaning that this is going to be a rank 1 vehicle, most likely right after the Type 89 IGO. Maybe a battle rating 1.3 or just a 1.0. I don't know. It's not the most appreciable anti-tank tank of the Japanese military. But it's something that deserves respect, I think, because we're gonna see this type of vehicle and this suspension on a lot of Japanese future armor. So let's move on to the third one anyway. The Type 2 Kami. This is a Japanese amphibious tank. Now, before you try to dunk it into the water when the update comes out, I do have to say that the in-game model is not amphibious. It is amphibious tank, but the model is, as stated, is not amphibious. Why? Well, it's kind of like the Sheridan. The Sheridan needs a modification in order to become waterproof or at least buoyant. The Kami is a similar thing. The designers give it removable flotation devices so that once it gets on land, it can fight on a more on a smaller mass, smaller size. But otherwise, it's the Type 2 Kami was based off the Type 95 Hago light tank. So so it's got similar characteristic, if only it changes in the body armor. With 12 millimeters of armor in the front, that's sadder than the Type 89, and a 37 millimeter gun that can penetrate about 36 millimeter of armor 275 meters out. So it's not the worst gun, but I felt better in rank 1 vehicles. But this is clearly a rank 1, if not a reserve. I think from its inclusion, we can expect other Japanese amphibious tanks to come in as well. Japan experimented a lot with amphibious tanks, so I think with the Kami in, that they will probably add more. But that's for I can't tell from now. They could just simply be filling in the light tank tree. Otherwise, they're stuck with a Type 95 Hago, and that'll be the only one, and that'll be a very empty tree line. I'm gonna give this a battle rating 1.0 or 1.3, depending on the performance. I'm sure it's gonna be speedy, so who knows? Maybe it will be comparable to the Stewards. Probably not. Next up is the Type 1 Chihi. Type 1 Chihi is a further development of the Type 97 Chiha. It's basically, hey, let's improve this thing because the Americans are destroying the hell out of our Chihas. Um, the biggest improvement on the Chihi compared to the Chiha was the welded hull. So the welded hull gives it a much more sharper frontal slope, meaning it's more likely to bounce front shots, assuming it won't absolutely penetrate it in the first place. Another improvement is its 47 millimeter anti-tank gun, which is a big improvement over the 57 millimeter, that's for certain. So I talked about this in my last video. So if you want more details, I guess you can go there. But I would say, actually, I would just say anyway, the new gun's a lot better, but it can only still penetrate 55 millimeters at 100 meters. So this is definitely still going to be a rank 1 vehicle. Armor is 50 millimeters in front, so its survivability is definitely a lot better than the Chihas and the 89. I would compare this to the Panzer III OSJ variant at best. The OSJ has a 50 millimeters of armor in the front. It's welded and it's got a 50 millimeter armament that can penetrate more armor than this, but it's the closest comparison I got maybe. And so I think the Type 1 Chihi would therefore still be a rank 1 with a battle rating of 1.3 or 2.3. I don't think it's gonna get past 2.0. In fact, the Type 1 Chihi can be a premium vehicle if they really want to, because the Chihi never saw full-scale production as similar to the Chiha, or even the Type 97 Shinhoto Chiha, which is basically the Type 97 with a 47 millimeter gun. So, but I guess we won't know until the official release comes out. Next is the Type 2 Hoai. I wonder if I'm pronouncing this correctly. Anyway, this is a modified Type 97 Chien, another one, with a short-barreled 75mm cannon just like the early Panzer IV's short 75mm cannon. Actually, but this Type 99 75mm gun, which is the gun on the Type 2 Koi, is actually taken from a German mountain gun, so in a way it's similar to the Germans, but not outright. According to the news, the 75mm armor-piercing explosive charge on the Type 2 is truly murderous. That's saying something, I guess. The shell got even more charged than the Panzer IV's gun, up to 6 times more, in fact. 6 times more than the armor-piercing round of the Panzer IV. So if this thing penetrates in armor, the enemy tank is not going to have a good day. Aside from that, the 75mm gun can have heat rounds, so you can probably fight enemy armor very well instead of just relying on AP shells. And with the 50 millimeters armor, I think this I have more confidence in saying this has a battle rating 2.3 or at rank 2, similar to the Panzer IV F1, because the F1 also has 50 millimeters armor in front with the short 75. So next up is probably the most famous Japanese World War II armor vehicle, or the tank, the Type 3 Chinu. Now, if you thought Japanese armor was completely outclassed in comparison to M4 Shermans, Type 3 Chinook and its successors might make you change your mind a bit. But because it definitely showed that the Japanese took some lessons on their experiences, defeats in the Pacific against the Americans. The Type 3 Chinook's got 50 millimeters armor, so it's quite adequate there, and an actually adequate 75 millimeter gun. This thing, um, Gaijin has said that this thing can compete against T-34s, Shermans, and the later series of German Panzer IV. That means this tank can compete against the Panzer IV with the high velocity 75mm cannon. This is probably the highest praise I've heard about a Japanese tank in World War II. So I guess from that statement, if they hold true, I can say the Type 3 Chinook can sit comfortably at rank 2 in the battle rating range of 3.7 to 4.7. Okay, maybe not 4.7, but 3.7 at least. The Chino definitely doesn't sound like a tank that would disappoint enthusiasts. I'm certainly not disappointed if this thing even comes out. I want to see how well it does, but I guess we'll have to wait for the official release to find out. Lastly, of the current announced vehicles, we have the STA-1. The STA-1 is the first post-war tank Japan developed and is the not predecessor, it's the prototype model of the Type 61 made battle tank that will follow. This thing is pretty much a guaranteed rank 5 already, given that the news already compared it to the American M46 and M47 pattern, as well as having a modified version of the 90mm M3A1 gun on the M46. Although it's lacking in armor at around 75mm thick, sloped, the tank is very short at 2.2 meters tall. In comparison, the T-54 in the Soviets is only 2.4 meters tall. That means the STA-1 is a low-profile, fast tank with a heavy-hitting gun, almost like the Leopard tank really, but with its 90mm armament and low armor. I believe that this tank fits well in the rank 5 area, with a battle rating 7.0, similar to the M46 pattern. From here on, I can definitely see the Type 61 and Type 74 main battle tanks following up the rank 5 medium tank rank in Japanese ground forces, up to a battle rating 8.0. All these tanks are nice and all, but I'm still left with a question. What on earth are they gonna put in the battle ratings 5.0 to 7.0? We still got the Type 4 Cheeto and the Type 5 Chiri tank that we can probably squeeze in there, given that some of their guns are rather strong, but that's only 2 tanks. I'm not so sure what Gaijin plans to do to fill in this area other than those heavy tanks that World Tanks use, but I don't know, because I'm not aware of every single tank design that Japan made. I think in the worst case scenario, if they don't have enough tank to fill in, they're just going to use some American tanks in their lineup, because during the Japanese Self-Defense Force startup, they were offered M4A3E8 Shermans and Chaffies. So it is a possibility that some more American tanks fill up the fill up the ground forces tree line in the later stages, just like in the aviation. In the later stages, they start getting the F-86 Sabre jets. Anyways, these are just some of my predictions on the currently announced Japanese tanks. I'm sure there are more to come by the week until they are finally released in the next update, probably alongside the naval warfare mode. I was planning on to make a makeshift Japanese tree in another prediction, but like I said, we'd be left with a large gap between the 5.0 and 7.0 battle rating. So I think I'll wait to see what other tanks that Gaijin plans to release before I start assembling another draft of it. Uh, I'm certainly excited for this, and I hope you are too. Thanks for watching. I hope this was rather informative and on what's to come for the Japanese tree line, and I hope to see you next time.